Everyone, Brandon here, registered nurse, certified diabetes educator, and nurse practitioner from Dallas, Texas in the United States. Living and working in Sweden for the last 3.5 years. I came here in August 2021. So this August coming up, 2025, will be 4 years living and working in Sweden. I came here to fulfill a lifelong dream of living abroad. If you want to learn more about that, why I came to Sweden, what it's been like for me coming here, what's been like getting my nursing license, feel free to check out my other content on this channel. I've had a lot of people reaching out to me with lots of questions, mostly nurses from the United States, but also from other places around the world, wondering what it's like becoming a nurse here and wondering if coming to Sweden to be a nurse is a good idea. This video will be the first in a series covering 10 different topics, ranging from salary, safety, nursing autonomy, job security, healthcare coverage, work schedules, workplace structure, nursing status, vacation and sick leave, as well as continued education. And today's first topic is going to be salary, which is going to take up all of our time today, so we'll only be focusing on that one. And of course, as a disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. These videos are purely for entertainment purposes. If you've got those kinds of questions, yes, I will be talking about money. Make sure and consult your financial advisor. Don't just take my word for it. And another thing, these numbers that I'm going to be giving you are changing on a daily basis, especially now with the crazy economy of 2025 and everything that's happening in the United States right now. So if you were to go on the internet, you may find some numbers are not quite exactly the same depending on when you look at this video. Also looking at different websites, they pull data from different things, and so the statistics may be a little bit differently. So what I had to do is look at multiple websites, compare them, and consult with people that work in these fields. Also, things vary widely from city to city and state to state in the United States. So feel free, if you find that these numbers are off a little bit, go ahead and kindly leave your comments down below. It'd be very interesting to hear what you have to say. If you're a nurse trained abroad, outside the EU, and thinking of coming to Sweden and getting your nursing license, but you need a little extra help, I do offer one-on-one coaching for a modest fee. The link is in the bio. Don't hesitate to reach out. That being said, let's get on with the first topic, which is salary, Sweden versus United States. Salaries vary widely in the United States depending on the state, the city, the level of education that you've received. Was it a bachelor's? Was it a master's? Was it a higher level than that? And how many years you've been working in that field. The United States Bureau of Labor and Statistics indicates that registered nurses with bachelor's degrees working in the United States on average make between $89,000 to $93,000 United States dollars per year, which works out to be about $45 per hour. Now, this is important to think about because most nurses in the United States work 36-hour work weeks, as a contrast to the Swedish work week, which many nurses work 40 hours. And of course, there's exceptions to both of those. The conversion rates would be about 900,000 Swedish kroner, or roughly about 434 kroner per hour here in Sweden if you were to do the conversion. Now, as a nurse practitioner or as a nurse anesthetist in the United States, you can make even a whole lot more than that. Salaries vary widely from state to state and city to city. Here I've got some examples for you. California is the highest paid state in the United States, making $133,000 per year. Now, you also have to understand some of these states also have higher taxes. Some of them have higher cost of living, such as California and New York. They're very expensive to live there. In Texas, you've got an average of $80,000 a year. New York, about $110,000 a year. Mississippi with $70,000 a year, which is on the lower end. You've got some states like Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas that are lower paid, but the salaries are still quite good. Now, you have to understand there are people making a lot less than this, people making a lot more than this based on their years of experience. Are they working night shift? Are they working weekends? But the interesting thing is the fact that the majority of them are working 36 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week like in Sweden. And as context, I was making just under the $80,000 mark. I had worked in America for 11 years as a nurse. I had a bachelor's degree, and I also got certified as a diabetes care specialist and worked in intensive care. So I had a lot of experience, and I was able to get a pretty good salary. Now, that was during the pandemic. Since the pandemic, a lot of these numbers are really high now because of the fact that so many nurses were quitting, they were getting burnout, and they were having to hire travel nurses at a lot of these places. So the salaries have become quite lucrative to be able to keep nurses staying in their jobs. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Advanced practice nurses. So in Sweden, they're called specialist nurses or specialistsjuksköterskor. And in America, you've got nurse practitioners. There's many different types. I actually have my nurse practitioner. I got it during the COVID pandemic, so I wasn't able to actually utilize it and work in that role because I was in the process of getting my license and registered, and then ended up moving to Sweden. But I was working in the role as a diabetes educator at that time. And a nurse practitioner, if I were to stay in that role, on average, I could make $126,000 per year. Texas is actually one of the higher paid states for nurse practitioners, so it can be a little bit more depending on where you work. CRNAs. Now, this one's an interesting one. A lot of young people that are new nurses, they're really wanting to get into this because it is big money. Now, it does require a whole lot of education. So does nurse practitioner, but CRNAs, I was able to work while I was in school for nurse practitioner, but as a CRNA, you have to be in school full time. So working is really kind of out of the question. So a lot of people take out loans to go for this. And they've been sort of, from what I hear, phasing out master's degrees and trying to get them to get like a doctorate degree. And on average, they make 212,000 United States dollars, which is over 2 million Swedish kroner. That kind of money is just unthinkable here in Sweden. Now, I have worked as a nurse and I've worked as a nurse educator in diabetes, the diabetes specialty. And I made enough money as a single person to afford a 2-car garage with a 3-bed house with 1 bathroom, an old house built in the 1940s in the city, have a nice car, and be able to have a pretty comfortable lifestyle. It wasn't anything super fancy. Couldn't afford like getting a swimming pool installed or going and buying extremely expensive clothes or anything like that, but I never really worried about money or thought about money. I had a nice retirement plan, that sort of thing. Now, if you're a dual income and you're both nurses and you're both making these kinds of money, that kind of money is just insane how much you'd be able to save up as a couple. All right, now let's take a look at Sweden and compare. So according to statsskuld.se, the average nursing salary in Sweden is 42,900 Swedish kroner per month, which is about 4,443 United States dollars based on the current exchange rate. After taxes, that's around, and like I said, all these numbers, they vary a lot depending on the city and your individual circumstances, but when I punch them in, under my circumstances, if I were making this much, which I'm not, it would be 31,300 Swedish kroner take-home pay, which is 3,250 United States dollars. And I personally earn a lot less than this average. I live and work in the Malmö area. I work in the hospital. And from what I gather, if you work in the hospital, generally speaking, you make a lot less money. If you want to make more money, then you can go work in the community, or you can work in private healthcare where they pay a lot more money. But I chose to be willing to make less money and work in the hospital because I was new in Sweden and I like the camaraderie and the support that I'm getting as someone new to this country. I think later on I can shift to working in private care, but for now I want to play it safe and work in this kind of environment. Also, they are sponsoring me coming to Sweden, and so I'm really thankful for that, and I want to be loyal to them because of the help that they've given me. But later on down the road, there is the option of going into the private sector. But a lot of nurses do that. They do end up leaving the hospital setting and going into private care, even though they love to work in the hospital. They also like the increased pay that you get in private care. Now, an attractive option for people in Sweden, if they want to increase their salary quite a bit, is to go into travel nursing or bemanningssjuksköterska. They also call it like consult nursing, where you go and you work in an underserved area, and a lot of times they provide you a place to stay as well. These nurses are making on average 60 to 70,000 Swedish kroner, or give or take 6 or 7,000 US dollars per month. After taxes, take-home pay for 60,000 kroner is going to be about 43,500 Swedish kroner per month, or 4,500 United States dollars, depending on the tax brackets of your area, of course. Now here's where it gets interesting. We're going to compare the highest paid nurse in America, nursing category, versus its equivalent in Sweden. So in America, that's a CRNA, or the Certified Registered Nurse Anesthetist, making 212,000 United States dollars per year, or about 2 million kroner per year in Sweden. And in Sweden, the equivalent, the nurse anesthetist, will make about 564,000 Swedish kronor per year, which is about 58,000 United States dollars, and 47,000 Swedish kronor per month, which is about 4,800 United States dollars. So that is about 1/4 of what you would make in America. Now, let's talk about taxes and take-home pay. Of course, that's what people are interested in, how much they're going to have in their pocket when they go home. So in Sweden, your take-home pay is going to be about on 47,000 kronor a month, about 36,000 Swedish kronor, which is about 3,700 US dollars per month. So you're bringing home less than a bachelor's level nurse in America. In the United States, in a state with no income tax, and that's very important to remember because not all the states have state tax. Some do. I come from a state that does not have state tax, and you only pay federal income tax. So in Texas, the take-home pay from $212,000 per year is going to be roughly about 13,000 United States dollars a month, or 125,000 krona per month after tax, assuming a federal marginal tax rate of 36.5%. That just blows my mind, that kind of money. I just have trouble even imagining that. Now, of course, in Sweden, you pay more taxes, and that is because they have a strong social safety net that goes towards providing for things such as subsidies towards childcare, education. So if you want to go to college, it's subsidized by the taxes. You also have access to universal health care, parental leave of absence. You have also a generous vacation pay, generous sick day pay. A lot of people like to bring up about the work-life balance here in Sweden, but we're going to save all these topics for other videos. So I hope you found benefit from this information here. Feel free to like and subscribe if you found this information helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the future videos where I cover these other topics.